What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys for tuning in. Got the Power Hour. Got Mr. Matt Durbin in the house with us. What's up?
What's happening? How we doing?
Doing good, man. Appreciate you jumping in. I know, Kinder's somewhere traveling, doing something. So I was like, let's get Durb. So what's up, man? How are things out in Pittsburgh?
They are good. It's been a little slow on the listing side. It's been a little bit better on the buy side, honestly. I feel like this is the kind of market I like personally.
Yeah.
You got to be better you got to be better with listings, and there's more opportunity for buyers as far as our buyers agents are concerned.
What are you guys seeing and experiencing? So, like you said, slower there with sellers, a little more activity on the buy side, and you're like, well, interest rates are higher. So kind of explain kind of what you're seeing and experiencing in the market.
Yeah, I mean, from a listing standpoint, things are sitting longer, right? Like open houses have less people. We have some interest, you might have some interest, but they're not pulling the trigger like they used to. So, it's, if you still have a fully remodeled, fully updated house that's priced correctly, it's going to get multiple offers. We still do have a little bit of that, but if you've got something that maybe the layout's a little weird or it's not totally updated, it is sitting a little bit longer than it would. And
right.
We've got homes that we're hammering for price reductions again. We're asking for feedback. We're doing all the stuff that we didn't have to do the last 2 years.
Do you think, as kind of starting to see this shift, is there some seasonality to what's going on right now as well?
Yeah, I think especially with our market, it's kind of the perfect storm, right? Interest rates are up, market's changing. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of they just aren't sure what's going to happen. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and then this is generally the worst time of year for us. It's still, like right now, it's weird from when they go back to school, right? When school starts up again, it's like you have these 2-week peaks and then you have like a couple week valleys, and it just kind of yin yangs up back and forth in our market until we get into the holidays, and then it'll kind of end up slowing down, and we'll generally have a slow January and February.
So talking with Stace and just kind of trying to find some comparisons historically so we can get back into kind of what our curves in our within the flow of the business. And for you guys listening in and not kind of understanding what we're talking about, every market has a seasonality to it, right? It goes and it peaks. Even DFW, right? We knew in DFW that 17 to 18% of the homes, only 17 to 18% of home sales were going to happen in Q1. And why that's important is that if you're building out your model and you're building out, hey, we're going to sell 100 homes this year. Well, then if we only know 16 or 17% are going to happen in the first quarter, then we know 17, 18 homes are going to happen, January, February, March, and you just do the math. And then you're like, okay, well, this is my budget. And the budget pretty much for the most part, especially when we have fixed expenses, stays pretty fixed. There are some variable costs, and not to panic because that's going to happen. So like we knew typically in January, and this is the same in Lawton, when we were in Lawton, we knew we were going to lose money in January. No matter what we did, no matter what, we knew we were going to lose money. Yep. And the worst thing and this is where, real estate agents, especially small business entrepreneurs, they go to start cutting. And what did they cut? They cut sales and marketing. They cut their people. And so, that's one of the worst things that you can do, because you need the marketing efforts. You need your people to build that pipeline, because what's going to happen when you go into April, May, and June, right? For us, we were in the 20+%, is going to happen in that time frame. And so that's kind of what we're talking about. Everybody listening in is really getting back to the true seasonality of the market. 2021 and even, pretty much this year the beginning of the year, especially, there wasn't much seasonality to it. And it was off the radar. But
Right.
for you, what are you looking at? What kind of, if we're getting
Well,
back to
so I've been looking, because I'm a numbers guy. So I've been looking at the numbers in our market. Our market hasn't really changed that much, right? Like you can feel it when you're selling homes. You can feel it when you've got buyers that can actually take a day to think about it and still submit an offer and still get it. But when I look at the year over year numbers, the last couple of years, we're not really down all that much as far as inventory is concerned. As far as sales are concerned, we still have low inventory. Our inventory went from like 1.5 months in a particular market to like 1.6, 1.7. Not a big change overall. I suspect, because we've had high interest rates for what, like 2 months now. I feel like they've been jumping around. It'll be interesting to see the next 3-4 months, comparatively speaking, year over year. Like you got to look at year over year. You can't look at just sales data compared to last month, which is what you see a lot of the national stuff do. You really got to look at your market. But then going even deeper with that, you have to look at whatever price point you're in and whatever market you're in. And, I just had this scenario, listing, it's like, 450 in our areas, a little bit above average. It's not like luxury, but it's a higher end home for this particular school district. But, and, it's like, oh, well, things are still selling quickly. But when I look at that, there's 10 homes on the market and there's only one contingent and there's only 2 sales. Now I'm looking at absorption rate again. Like, hey, listen, if there's only two homes have sold over the last 30 days, or at least one contingent is what I'm looking at now, as opposed to the sold. If only 2 homes have went under contract, we're 5 months of inventory in your particular price range in your price bracket. So that's the things that we've got to be looking at from a listing standpoint. And you can't go back to the sold data because that's all bullshit because it's bringing in 6-month, 12-month data. I'm looking at the most recent couple of months, what's one contingent, and then figuring out from there what kind of market you're really in.
Yeah, that was a great point, especially for everybody listening in that, if you haven't been riding, for very long, got licensed maybe 1920 or even more recent, you don't understand what that means, right? That's how you have to really break it apart and really what's truth. And, as humans, we're so quick to just make decisions off of our feelings. And we got to get through that. And we got to get to the logical side of things. We've got to get past the ego and get into what is truth, what is facts, like what is this data telling me? And if you guys are listening in and you're not quite sure, find a mentor, somebody that understands the market, understands the data. I mean, shit, hit me up, hit Matt up. I mean, this is what we're here. This is what we do. This is what we pay attention to. There are some great resources. I would, highly recommend, everybody, jumping in, with KCM. I mean, I have a coaching organization and I make everybody on our entire team, even our marketing team, watch KCM, right? Just to get facts where things are going. But diving a little bit deeper, Matt, other than just living in the MLS and paying attention to what's going on there, are there any tools, resources that you're currently using to help you kind of pull and extract and see this data?
I use Terradatum. Have you ever heard of them?
Yep.
They'll pull. Generally, it takes a little while to get the data out, and you don't like. It takes like a month till you get the actual reports on all the bigger websites. This stuff pulls right from the IDX, like right from the MLS, so I can generally see where you're at the day after the month closes out, or a couple of days after the month closes out. I usually use that. Now, KCM's great because you can. Generally most of your conversations with buyers and sellers right now are what's happening in the market. So that gives you the national, gives you regional, gives you interest rate data, gives you that kind of thing. But I feel like in a market like this, you have to really dive deeper into the subsections of the market, the price points within a given market. Like that's all that matters right now. It doesn't matter what's happening in Denver. Denver market's crashing. Ours hasn't yet. So we can't go off the national news. We can give them an idea of what maybe is to come. That's maybe a lagging indicator for us. We're generally 6 months behind, the rest of the market, the bigger markets that are starting to crash. And I saw something interesting the other day where it's like, although it seems like the inflation numbers are improving somewhat, and things like, once prices start to decline, it's almost like a snowball rolling down a hill. It just will keep going then, because people will just pull back. So
Right.
once it gets going enough, then maybe it starts to affect like markets like us, smaller metro areas and things like that. But I can't stress enough that you have to go down to $100,000 price range brackets to look at exactly what's happening in your market, because it could be totally different from one neighborhood to another and one price point to another, and the rest of it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, that's all that's going to determine whether or not you sell.
Right, 100%. And I think, making sure you're really educating, become a student of the market, and creating some visuals. You got to have, it's better to show than to tell, and, leveraging the reports. We were Real Market Reports. I mean, I created Real Market Reports before Real Market Reports was there. As you talk about a pain in the ass, every Friday that's how I spent half my day on Friday was doing that. It was very beneficial for us and our knowledge, but also, to create, influence in with the influencers in our community, having those reports and educating them on really what's going on. But, working with buyers and sellers, especially, for sell by owners starting to kind of decline and then expireds on the rise, being able to have that data to be able to, really, put in front of them. So they, really to articulate your expertise. And, like I said, we used Real Market Reports. I know Alex really likes Altos, the Altos reports. They break it down into 4 quadrants, which could be very beneficial. And then, our go-to is always Focus First, because Focus First, basically you get to create the graphs, because it's a visual pricing guide, and it creates the graphs based upon the data you feed it, and, right out of your MLS, what you want it to have in there. But there's a couple really powerful reports, especially working with sellers, that talks about like what you were talking about, right? Like the pond, here's how many that are coming in, here's how many that will fall to the bottom and fail to sell, and here's how many will move out and actually sell, right? Transact. And then the other one that I always liked was based upon pricing, 10% at or 10% below, what's the probability of the home selling? And, our whole approach and process working with buyers and sellers as far as it comes to pricing is, it's the DiCaprio movie, right? Inception. We're trying to plant the seed to where it's their idea of where we need to position the home in the market. And we just use data, we use our process, and we just ask questions to where they feel that based upon their goals, how we need to position the home in the market. And that's just always kind of been our philosophy in the way we've gone around, really allowing the buyers and sellers to come to their own conclusion. Because if they come to their own conclusion, Matt, this, I mean, then they're more vested in it. They believe in it. And instead of, oh, it's your fault, you told me to price it that way. And it's the whole, we would rather spend that time being to the offensive side of things than have to just sit there and fight defensively of our positioning.
Yeah. And a lot of it too, like the Focus First and stuff, like we don't have it in our market. We've tried a few times. We just literally got square footage on our MLS a couple of weeks ago. We fought that for years because none of the square footages are correct with the tax record.
Yeah.
So it's been, it's like the Stone Ages up here in terms of the real estate market. But it's that, and it's setting, especially from a listing standpoint, it is all about setting proper expectations right now. Because you go in and you, especially with FSBOs or expireds, you go in there and promise them the world, and then a week later you got less showings than they were getting on their own. They're going to be pretty jacked. So it's a fine line to juggle right now, because you're going and you need to be aggressive to get the listing, but you can't overpromise, because it's probably going to sit if you take it at the price they need to. And that's enough. Like, we're now having that conversation. Like, yeah, I know we're taking an overpriced listing right now. We're going to have to beat them up until they get more realistic. And this is going to be a 60-day grind to get to the price, the point that we have it priced where it's going to sell. And
Yeah.
we're, you know,
In our listing addendum, we had them acknowledge that it was overpriced,
yeah,
and then we would have went ahead and put in predetermined, price reductions. And
right.
not that, hey, we're not going to talk about it in 2 weeks. We are going to drop it to here in 2 weeks or a week or
Mhm.
whatever that time frame is for you. And so just being proactive on the front end, I think, is one of the most critical things that, agents that, need to be reminded. They had to experience this. And then agents that have never had to experience this is like, hey, you got to get back out. You got to be proactive. You've got to really, be the true expert, really,
Mhm.
lead the conversation and
Yep.
really not, be just kind of back on your heels and acted upon. So I think it's super important. Matt, I know, numbers guy. So one of the things that, in our business and you can even say life, right? Just everything. There's a critical measurement. There's a number that if we pay attention to, will have a significant swing in the direction of where we're trying to go, be it conversations, be it effort, be it dials, be it whatever. For you right now, that leading indicator that if you were going to say, hey, if we can have a significant impact on this one number, it'll help exponentially move the organization in the direction we need it to go. Is there a number that you guys are thinking about or paying attention to?
Um, it generally would be conversations, but right now it's dials because it's, this is a market where you're going to need to be working with more people. You just are. Like, so if 10 buyers got you a couple deals a month, you need to be at 20 right now. There's going to be people that pull out of the market. There's going to be people that, it's, so when I look at like what are we talking to our agents about, it's just more activity. So the dials right now is really what I'm concentrating on because I feel like that's just the direct correlation to effort, and the conversations will come with that. So I'm looking at dials right now. It's just more activity is going to get us more business. And then the
Right.
conversations, yes, we're tracking from a standpoint of, well, how many dials does it take to get a conversation, you know? So that gives us an idea how many dials we need to make in order to break the numbers down for our team members. But if there's anything that I am really looking at right now, it's just effort and activity, and dials is the effort indicator, in my
Yeah.
opinion. The conversations you can't control, but the dials you can.
Yeah. Are you factoring in, engagements, touches like text or video text or DMs or anything?
No, not as much. We have a lot of automated texting features going out through like the Ylopo system that we use in follow up box. And yes, they're texting, but and we're probably a little bit old school with this, but I feel like having a conversation, you can't replace having a conversation with a buyer. So on the phone. And I
Yeah.
think
Nothing.
we substitute
Right.
text and email and stuff that,
Lead to
yeah,
a dial that lead to a conversation.
yeah, exactly. But I feel like that's the easy way out a lot of times.
Okay.
Like you have the follow up boss system. I don't want to pick up the phone. I'll just send a text,
Right.
and they're never going to answer the text, or they're never going to respond to the email. It's like just pick up the phone and call them, and if they don't answer, call them again. If they don't answer, call them again. Like we'll do the triple dial, and they'll pick up. And
Right.
so I don't know. I mean, I'm a little bit old school with that mindset. Is like I feel like especially newer agents, it's just easier to send a text, and you think that that's doing it. One of the conversations we were just having on our Monday call this week is working versus actually working and being productive to the things that are going to make you money. And I think we've talked about this before, but it's like, everybody thinks they're working hard, and everybody's putting in the hours, and just because you're in front of the computer, you're working. As far as mentally, that's what we think of. But are we really working? What is the most, like, the dials are the most important thing for people that need to build their pipeline. Just because you're there sitting in front of your computer, you'd rather work 2 hours a day and then go screw off if those are just dedicated prospecting hours and you put your head down and you just hammer away, as opposed
Right.
to you're just sitting around, you're answering emails on title and you're just letting the day
Busy.
kind of take over. Yeah.
You're busy, right? How effective are you being? Doing the
Right.
activities that allow you to be effective. And, we always talk about, are you getting results? Are you getting the results that lead to new money in your business? That's the only things that really matter. Are you doing the activities that lead to new money in your business every day? That's being productive. Otherwise, we're just being busy. And so many people are busy just being busy, and they're not getting shit done. They're not paying attention. And to me, it comes back down to a measurement. It comes back down to what is a measurable, what is a measurement that we have to pay attention to know that we are succeeding. And I think I like if you just group it all together, then they're going to take the easy way out and they're just going to text. Emails don't count. They're just going to text. They're going to DM. They're going to shoot video text, but they're not going to make a dial that's going to lead to a conversation. And even if they do create engagement with the text, they still have to make a dial to have a conversation.
You're going to have to talk to them eventually.
Nothing happens without a conversation, and the days of click and buy are over. Even on, even in the digital purchase side of things, unless it's Amazon, like you're not buying courses, you're not buying programs, you're not buying coaching with a click and a buy. It's a click and a conversation.
Right.
And so really we have to understand that, because in the reason that I believe that to be true, Matt, is that because trust is at an all-time low. And it's that people don't trust people. There's so many just bullshit people out there that are just phony and fake as shit, that just scam and take your money and can't deliver on the promise. Right. It's two things, right? You make a promise and you keep a promise. A lot of people are good at making promises, but very few can keep the promise. And so I think that's where, trust has become at an all-time low. And so what are we doing daily to create relationships and build trust? And it has to come down to a conversation.
Yep. And that was another conversation we were having with the team the other day, is like, they've, couple people on the team have some buyers that were concerned about rates and this and that, and they were thinking about pulling out of the market. Like, this is the time for you to shine. This is the time for you to show your expertise, to walk them through the process, to show them how you can use seller assist in order to buy a rate down. This is how you counter this. This is how you can look at a 2-1 buy down interest rate. This is the plan. This is how we do things. We have a process. Like, this is the time where you can set yourself apart from the people that don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. Like this, it's the same as with a deal. Like, when a problem arises, you can either think, oh no, and go into a hole, or you can think this is the time where I step up and shine, and they refer me 5 clients because I figure out how to get this deal done.
Yeah.
This is the time to be an expert again. Yeah. Yeah.
You nailed it right there. So I was going to say, that's what Kyle shared with us on Expert Mentors last week. And he said the number one thing that we have to commit and focus on is our sales and marketing skills. Like, what are you doing to improve and sharpen your skills around sales? What are you doing to sharpen and improve your skills around marketing? Period. It's all that matters right now.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you jumping in, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days, and we're we'll rock it out in Pittsburgh. All right, brother. Appreciate you. See you guys.